Okay, thank you. All right, we will call to order the West Fargo Public Library Board of Directors meeting today at 5:30, August 19th, 2021. We will do roll call. Tony Stuckel. Here. Jody Herring.
Here.
And I am here, Leanne Hansen. Alana Rarick is absent, and Mandy George is absent. Let's see. Next on the agenda, we have approval. Let's see. Approve the order of agenda. I'll second.
Make a motion to approve that.
Can I second? So we have a motion and a second to approve the order of the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we will move to the consent agenda. So approval of minutes from the July 8th, 2021 meeting. We have the board minutes posted online. You can review them if you'd like, but then we're also looking for a motion for approval.
I can make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. And then we have approval of financial reports. So we have the July library financials, which is all posted again online. And we need an approval of the financial reports.
I think that was also part of the consent agenda.
But no, I couldn't hear.
I think the minutes and the financials were both part of the consent.
Yep, that's all part of the consent agenda,
perfect.
so you're good to go.
So we can go the regular agenda. Fantastic. All right, regular agenda. We have discussed findings related to the question of the library mill cap, and there is the memo regarding the library mill levy.
All right, good evening, board members. So last month, we had the exact same agenda item on the July meeting agenda, and we talked about research that we've done into the question of whether the library had a specific voted on mill cap. And we talked about, after consulting with City Attorney John Shockley, the library does not have a set mill cap because the City of West Fargo is a home rule charter community, meaning that the city can allocate funds to departments across the city as it sees fit, regardless of mill limits outlined in North Dakota Century Code. So I'm just bringing it back onto the agenda. There's a memo in your packet which goes into more detail about it. But City Attorney John Shockley is here to answer any additional questions that you have about it. So I'll just turn it over to the board for any questions or discussion.
Are there any questions or thoughts for discussion?
I thought that this memo was really well written, obviously, and it includes a lot of references that outlined the mill allocation. The only thing I was looking for, and I'm sorry if I missed it, is that there is actually no statement in here that there is no mill levy cap. It states that there can be more mills allocated to the library than 6, but it doesn't say that there is no cap. Do you think that that's important?
I can certainly answer the question. So under the Century Code, city home rule charter cities have an overall cap for their budget. I want to say it's like 100 mills. And so there is a cap at 100 mills, but I can't imagine that the city would allocate all of its mill levies to the library. So
right, but our entire discussion has been centered around trying to find the limit that's given, if there is a limit given to the library. So there's nothing in here that states that there is no defined limit that the library can be allocated, other than the maximum that's the city has, which of course we know is an absurd limit.
Right. I mean, and it frankly, the with a home rule charter city, it is up to the city commission to determine how many mills it wants to allocate to the library.
Okay.
So I mean, that's your ultimate cap, is the city commission. That's a policy political decision.
Okay.
Reading the memo, I took it to be inherent in that it's always the city commission that sets the mill levy each year, and they can do so as they see fit on an annual basis. So that's, in reading it, seemed implied. I don't know if other people have additional thoughts.
So since it's through the city commission, we don't need to state it anywhere in our policy, right? Because we're just getting the mills that they allocate.
Right,
Okay.
the city commission always has control. I mean, you can request in a budget whatever size budget you want, but ultimately they have mill levy authority, so.
And I think the important thing for the board and for the commission to know is that it is their decision on an annual basis, whatever amount is levied. And it's not because of the home rule charter status of the city, they can determine what that amount is within the overall city cap. So there's not a voted on number and what is outlined in century code because the city is a home rule charter city. They can go above that figure or less because they said it, so, yep.
It will be very good to have it finalized in this way, since that wasn't open-ended as far as I understood coming into this budget year.
Is there any additional steps, Jody, that you would like taken with regard to this, or I couldn't tell from what you were saying?
When I was reading it, since that was sort of the crux of our discussion, trying to figure out where that had been determined or if it had been determined before or how that had been documented before. That's what I was looking for as I was reading the memo, and I didn't see it, stated as such as clearly as, this is or that there is no predetermined maximum. And so that was just kind of my open-ended question is, as a group, did we feel like it was important that be stated, if it could be stated, in a different way?
I can certainly finalize the memo to include that.
Just a statement that,
Yeah.
we can, I think, Jody, we can certainly put a line in there about that.
Okay.
All right. Other questions or discussions regarding the mill levy memo? Okay. Next on our agenda, we have strategic planning. So review of identified community needs and staff SWOT analysis. And there's documents linked to this agenda item as well.
I think that the item up is the outlook of remainder of 2021 library activity and board meetings. Is that not?
Oh, sorry, yes.
That is okay.
I scrolled too far. Yep, so outlook of the 2021 activities.
Yeah, so I have more in-depth assessment in this area to plan for the future, so we're going to let you know what next steps we're gonna take to do that research. Little Red Reading Bus replacement and fundraising campaign proposal. Regardless of questions still that remain about the outreach services and what the needs are, one thing that we know that's not an unknown is that we have a need to plan for a replacement vehicle over time. So I'd like to begin working this fall with our Friends of the Library group to raise funds for a replacement vehicle. And even though it's staff's responsibility to plan and design and implement library services and programs to meet the community's needs, a project like that obviously involves substantial funding, and I just want to ensure that I have your support and approval before we move forward working with the Friends on a fundraising campaign for that project. So be looking for that in September as well. Then as we head into October, this is an important one for the board to be aware of. Our lease in the Ladone Community Center is expiring, not for a while, but we have to start reviewing the lease in advance. So bringing that to the board's attention so that you guys can begin reviewing it and the process of renewing it. Starting that in October is the plan right now. Next, library board determines continuation of mobile library task force in October as well. So if you'll recall, the purpose of the mobile library task force was to help with the transition of the Little Red Reading Bus into the operation of the WFPL in order to bring community voices into the planning of the route and help with the fundraising plan. And the task force was devised with a 1-year scope. So the board has the option to continue the task force for an additional period of time if you choose, or to end it after the 1-year term is up. So I'll work with the task force to bring forward a recommendation to you on next steps with that. And we do plan to engage the task force in researching and assessing outreach services needs, like I mentioned earlier, because that's really right within the scope of what that group is designed to do. And then I think after a year of working with that group and a lot of productive things happening to make a smooth transition happen and plan the first route, a lot of our focus now needs to be on planning for the future and fundraising around outreach services, particularly the vehicle, like I mentioned. So I think that looking ahead, transitioning that group and those players into groups that already exist within the library sphere, like the Friends of the Library group, is probably what's needed more than anything as we look forward. But like I said, more details, and I'll work with the task force to bring forward a recommendation to you in October. Then in November, we're planning to present you with the results of the additional research that I mentioned doing into outreach services needs. And related to that, then I would also like to present to you during that month a draft of a long-term staffing plan, and it will be very much informed by that research and our strategic plan. So I'll bring forward a 5-year staffing plan for your approval at the end of the year. And for us, the staffing plan is important because it's one of the main components that informs our long-term financial plan. So once we've planned out what some of the needs are, we can match that up against what revenue we anticipate receiving and be able to better prioritize and plan and have a longer-term view on everything. So that is it. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up and an outline about some of the items that are coming down the pipeline this fall, and so I'll be working with Leanne to make adjustments and obviously finalize the agenda, but that's sort of the outlook right now. So I'll open it up to any questions.
Are there any questions? I don't hear any questions. So next, we are then moving on to the review of identified community needs and staff SWOT analysis.
Thank you, Leanne. I'm gonna do a little introduction, and Maria is gonna take us through most of the presentation on this item. But you've all seen at this point the results of the community input project that the library has been working on for the last year. And now what we've been doing since we have all of those results is we've been working to turn that information into some tangible focus areas based on the needs that we found in all of that research and input that we received. So we've done a lot of work internally over the summer, weighing all the information to arrive at a recommendation for some plan focus areas that we'll talk about tonight. And we want to get your input on our recommendation, and we want to vet it with you. And then next month, with your input in tow, we'll be able to bring you a draft of the full strategic plan that would span for 2022 through 2024. And then if approved, we'd be ready to move into implementation in the early fall. So I will mention too, the full plan that we'll bring forward to you in September will include components that the board has been reviewing over the last year. So it'll include our goals and our focus areas, our mission, our vision, internal initiatives that we need to work on, how we will evaluate said goals and evaluation metrics, and sort of the schedule for reporting back to you on results. And a plan to re-review the plan with all of you on an ongoing basis. And I have just 2 more talking points before I turn it over to Maria. So like I said, tonight we want to get your perspective. As community members and board members, staff have evaluated these focus areas, but you all have your own unique perspective that's different than staff's perspective. So Maria is gonna show you the questions that we posed to staff when we were considering these areas in an effort to prioritize them. So really be thinking about what would it mean for the WFPL to prioritize this goal or this focus area as you look at the different needs areas that Maria will highlight. And I'm especially wanting you and interested in your feedback from an external perspective about what opportunities or threats you see. Those are the terms we're working off of with our SWOT analysis, but what do you see kind of from an external perspective looking in? What would the advantages or some disadvantages be to prioritizing one area over the other? And this is really important because this is the part where these are the things that will turn into the goals that will ultimately end up in the plan that will really shape the way that we use our resources and what we focus our time and energy on. So yeah, and then once the plan is set, it's the library staff's responsibility to take that forward and plan and design the services and use our resources to make it happen.
Thank you, Carissa. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to set up this presentation, hopefully. All right, so Jody, can you see a picture of a happy young man and the words strategic planning update?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, great. So as Carissa mentioned, we drew from many sources for this report, and that includes a lot of items you have already seen. Community survey data, the interviews conducted by Folkways, and also interviews conducted by staff, the personas developed by Folkways, the West Fargo 2.0 plan, community statistics derived from census data and other sources, and information from the Equity and Inclusion Task Force. Staff analyzed this data. Carissa and I have also analyzed this data looking for patterns and themes, which were synthesized into 7 needs statements, and these statements were brought back to staff for a SWOT to aid in prioritization. So here are the statements. Number 1, parents need services for their families in close and convenient locations in order to maximize resources available to them. Number 2, everyone needs services and resources in which they see themselves in order to feel welcome and take full advantage of what is available at the library, especially those facing barriers such as cultural barriers, financial, language, age barriers, accessibility barriers are included as well. Number 3, parents and children birth to age 5 need a way to develop literacy and social skills in order to ensure success in kindergarten and beyond. Number 4, teens need additional support outside of school to develop personal interests, build life skills, and have real-world experiences in order to be confident and prepared for their futures. Number 5, adults need ways to reduce stress, make informed life decisions, and take care of themselves in order to improve personal well-being. Number 6, adults need ways to learn new things in order to expand their horizons on limited budgets. And number 7, adults need an outlet to learn hands-on arts and crafting skills to be more self-sufficient and express themselves, but they don't necessarily have the skills, tools, or teachers to help them learn on their own. So those are the 7 statements. Some detail about the SWOT. SWOT stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats, by the way, just to get that out there. We held it at our all-staff meeting earlier in August, and to capture info from those who could not attend, we sent a Google Jamboard to capture that same information, and that was, I would say, very well responded to, so I believe that our results are pretty representative of our staff. Staff were prompted to think of these 4 questions. And these are the 4 questions I also ask you to consider. What internal strengths does the library have that would help us address this need? What internal weaknesses does the library have that would make it difficult to address this need? What external conditions would support our delivery of services to address this need? Those are the opportunities. And what external conditions would make it difficult to deliver services to address this need? So a SWOT addresses like the internal and external resources and the internal and external challenges. And here are the results grouped by need statement. So need statement 1, one big resource that we have is the Little Red Reading Bus, not just the physical bus itself, all its associated equipment, existing staff, their experience running it over the summer, and the partnerships that we built. That is a huge resource in bringing the library to the people. Also, there is very strong alignment with the West Fargo 2.0 plan. I believe in that plan, it's where it talks about mixed-use neighborhoods, that a neighborhood should have amenities within walking distance. And there are many potential partnerships with schools and with community organizations. But challenges, and this will become relevant with, Carissa will talk to you about fundraising, the Little Red Reading Bus is not actually a bookmobile. It is a refitted school bus, and as such it has a lot of limits, which I got to personally experience over the summer. It is physically difficult to carry all the equipment that we need and to get it in and out of there. And the bus is showing the wear of that difficulty. For outdoor programs, weather is a challenge a lot of the time, not just in the winter, in the summer too. And it would become a challenge to keep the main building adequately staffed when a lot of staff are out of the building. A little note at the bottom, there's a reason that this need statement is number 1, because it underlies a whole lot of the other goals, other service areas. Access is the root of being able to serve people. For service area number 2, because of the culture of the time and attention on diversity, more options and tools and resources are available here than ever before. There are tools for libraries to analyze collections specifically that did not exist even 3 years ago. This is a clear need. There's a lot of interest from the city, and a staff quote is at the bottom. We could be a leader in this area. I believe that we could, and that would be an amazing benefit we could give to the people of West Fargo. Challenges, so I mentioned accessibility was a barrier, and the building runs into some limits with ADA compliance because there's a limit to how much we can do to make that building compliant. Need for staff training in terms of the various facets of diversity, even training in different languages potentially. And then the fact that business as usual may not apply. We'd really be trying new things. We'd really be working with new organizations and new people doing very different stuff. Number 3, we have a new children's librarian, and that is, I would say, the primary resource. We have a person who is an expert in this area, and she is full-time. She is ready to go. And we have a lot of existing partnerships with daycares and with schools and experience in providing programming for this age group. Challenges are, and you see kind of the outreach and access theme coming back again, the location is not necessarily convenient. There is a lack of awareness of what the library can offer for this age group, especially in underserved communities where we'd want the most presence. And space for on-site programming is limited. We just have, if you've been in the building, you know, we have the children's corner and we have a couple meeting rooms, which may not be large enough to really address this. Number 4, the goal about teens. So resources here, we do have a strong youth services team. It has three staff, so there are people to work on it. There are existing teen volunteers. There are existing frequent patrons, so there's a seed for program attendance, and we do have good school connections to build on. Challenges are, again, awareness. So that theme comes back again: awareness, access, outreach. Lack of awareness of the library among the majority of teenagers. And lack of experience specifically serving teens. Number 5, this is the goal about reducing stress, making informed life decisions, self-care. A big resource is timeliness. Self-care is in the public consciousness a lot right now. Mental health is becoming more of a talking point. We have experience in providing a variety of adult programming, and we have staff in adult services who are experts in it. But challenging, we would be competing with other institutions, and adults do not have a lot of free time. And we could overlap with other community groups. Needs theme number 6, adults need ways to learn new things in order to expand their horizons. Again, we have a lot of experience in this area. We provide educational programming for adults a lot. Coming from the West Fargo 2.0 plan especially, reading culture and a culture of learning are very strongly present in West Fargo, which is great, and they're also part of the library's brand. People recognize the library as a place to learn and read. But some challenges: our programming space is small, and it does not have sync. That limits a lot of what we can do and the amount of things we can teach. Library programs, again, are competing for time. And needs theme number 7, adults need an outlet to learn hands-on arts and crafting skills. Again, resources, we have experience in programs in this area. Some of our elected officials are very enthusiastic about maker programming and maker spaces. There is a potentially strong volunteer base here, connection to colleges. Challenges, though: equipment can be very expensive in this area, and it can ramp up very high very fast. Again, difficult programming space, and a representative staff quote: can we do it better than other people can do it? You may have noticed a theme in those last 6 responses. Relates to our recommendation. We recommend that the library proceeds with statements 1 through 4 as our priority areas of focus in the 2022 to 2024 strategic plan. And the reason for that priority is there's a strong demonstrated community need in those areas. The library is uniquely positioned and equipped to help in those areas, and there are not many competing service organizations in those areas. So as I said, now is time for the quiz. Not really the quiz. We just want your input on these and your opinion on our recommendation. So I will open it up for input and questions.
So number 4 was for teens. Can you please remind me?
Yes, teens need additional support outside of school to develop personal interests, build life skills, and have real-world experiences in order to be confident and prepared for their futures.
So the lack of awareness seems like maybe the easiest challenge to tackle, right?
Yes.
We have the marketing ability now. Have you guys started to discuss how to approach this challenge yet?
Yes, we have. And our youth services manager, Lauren Nephew, is already planning to do regular outreach at the 3 high schools in the area. So our goal is for her to visit each one once a month and build awareness among the teens by going to where they are.
Okay. Has there been an improvement, would you say, with the online reading program and youth engagement in this age group?
I have not actually broken down Beanstack registrations by age, so that is something that I'll have to look into for our report, unless Carissa has something to add.
I have nothing to add. I think the most important thing to keep in mind with this particular goal is I'll call it marketing, but the awareness building piece is really going to be an embeddedness and a partnership approach that will, I think, have the longest lasting impact and actually be able to reach teens, because they're not going to come to the building just because we have X thing and put it on social media. We know that for sure. So it's going to just be trying to meet them where they are, which is what we also kind of meant when we were talking about how inherent the getting out of the building pieces to actually almost all of these. That's all I have to add, but yeah.
Yes, and talking about long-term plans with Lauren, our youth services manager, the outreach goal consistently, the goal of that is to build relationships with teens so that we can form the core of a regular teen program and even a teen advisory board in the future. But that will take some time. That's not the kind of thing that can happen overnight with teenagers, in my experience.
And I think you just said it, Maria, but I just wanted to clarify, like the top four, so the four that you're going to really focus on, they do all revolve around more outreach, right? And
Yes, they do.
right, because we're talking about outreach for families in convenient locations, services that provide, I think, more culturally proficient type of ways, which may mean other locations, but then birth to 5 and then teens. Are there additional ideas on how to do outreach in different and other ways?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, we are talking about, and in fact, I mean, a future meeting, we'll talk about our future outreach plans. But just a sampler, teen outreach is already in the works. One of our most successful stops, and certainly our most successful of the 5 targeted spots for underserved communities, Tintus Park, we are continuing a reading bus stop there in September, potentially to run through winter. So we'll be doing that as well. Daycare Outreach for Ready to Read, which is one of our early literacy programs, is also going to be happening. So yes.
okay.
In short, yes.
Yes, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? And so next steps, Maria, will be you coming back to us with further steps?
The next step is the strategic plan draft
Okay.
in September. So if we have your approval of the recommendation, then the strategic plan will focus on statements 1 through 4.
Okay. So do you want you want action taken on this?
I didn't,
Right.
I wasn't
Sorry,
thinking that we needed to take action because this was just an opportunity for you to get a preview, for you to know what was coming down the pipeline in terms of what will be in the plan draft, and for you to give feedback to us now, but you will have the opportunity to give your approval on the full plan next month.
All right,
So,
so that
yes.
sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry
No,
about
no,
any
no.
confusion.
no, we're all good.
Okay, great.
No, thank you. That sounds great. Can't wait to see the strategic plan.
Yes, we are putting a lot of thought into it, as you
Good.
may be able to tell. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see, next we have review and approve meeting room policy revision.
That's also me.
Perfect.
So I'm going to try to share the memo so I can refer to it. Share screen. Okay. Jody, do you see a screen with the memo on it?
Yep.
Okay, great. So you've all had an opportunity to look over this memo, which has some background. Just to sum up, library meeting rooms became available for public reservation again after a hiatus due to COVID-19. And upon preparing to reopen meeting rooms, staff discovered a discrepancy. Although policy said a fee would be charged for nonprofit groups to use the library meeting rooms, that fee was not specified. Staff did research on what other library systems are doing. There's a wide variety of fee schedules and criteria in different libraries. Given the relatively small size and simple amenities of our own meeting rooms, as well as identified local need for co-working space, we recommend liberalizing the meeting room requirements, charging no fee for any qualifying group, which was set forth in detail in the revised policy draft. Are there any questions or comments?
Was there a huge benefit to any of the fees we charged? Like, what did that money go towards?
So actually, I'm going to scroll down to financial analysis.
Okay.
So Amy Hitch, who has been in charge of meeting room reservations for 3 years, collected no fees in that 3-year period.
Okay.
So there is financial impact of this revision will be nil.
Are there any other questions or comments? All right, and this is an action item. So we are looking to have action on the proposed updated policy regarding the public meeting rooms.
I can move to approve the revision.
I do need a motion to approve. Did Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I move to approve the revised policy.
Okay. We will, yes, a motion and a second. Are there any more discussion on that? All those in favor of approving the policy revision to the meeting room, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Let's see. The next one is review and approve circulation limit policy revision. Is that also you, Maria?
That's also me.
All right.
All right. So some background on this. Recently, library staff discovered online checkouts were adding to patrons' item limits in our library management system, limiting the number of physical items they could check out. Upon this discovery, we performed research on the item limit policies of other libraries in the area and found the vast majority of them have checkout limits of 50 items or more. That is all of them except Bismarck. Analysis of collection turnover revealed that increasing the item limit to 50 would not put an undue burden on the collection. We recommend that the circulation limits be revised to be more in line with other libraries in our region, as set forth in the attached draft. Are there any questions about that?
This did seem like a big change to me, but when you just mentioned that, I'm glad that you guys looked to see what other libraries had. So when you say all of them except Bismarck, that's what Fargo Public Library has and Grand Forks, so.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they're all 50 plus. Some are much higher.
And they don't make a distinction like half of those or 20 of those can be online and 30 can be physical.
No.
Okay.
No, they do not. I'm not certain if they have a similar issue where online checkouts are counting against physical checkouts.
In most item limit policies at public libraries, usually those item limits are in reference to physical items, and oftentimes there's separate limits for electronic resources, which is the case at the WFPL. We have item limits that can vary per platform for some of those online resources, so I believe the comparison among libraries is really looking at the physical item checkout. In our particular case, one of the things that, like Maria said, that prompted the looking into it was that within our system, some of our online platforms are being counted towards the total limit. So we were thinking that's not very fair anymore, to have that cut into what was the physical item limit. And then we discovered that we were quite a bit different than our peer libraries. So do you have anything to add to that, Maria?
I do not.
Any other questions or discussion items? All right, this is also an action item, so we would need a motion to approve the policy revision for circulation limits. Thank you.
I will second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Do you have anything else for us, Maria?
I do.
You do.
I am the next.
You are.
Item
Director's
as
report
well.
is next. Thank you. So July library statistics.
Oh, it's you? Yeah. Oh, sorry, never mind. Whew. Okay.
Because were you ready to present, Maria?
Alrighty, director's report. And then we have Kirsten Hennigan, our adult services manager, who will give a programming update as part of this report too. So the first thing I want to spend a little time talking about is an attachment that was in your packet underneath the director's report, a mid-year update on some of our 2021 projects and initiatives, and then attached to that as well was a mid-year statistical report. We always include our metrics just on an ongoing basis, so it's a snapshot set of documents for where we are mid-year. And several of the things that I'm most proud of that we've worked on and that we've made good strides towards within that mid-year report, I want to point out Little Red Reading Bus, service development, and evaluation. And all of these really go hand in hand, and we're obviously thinking a lot about the Little Red Reading Bus summer program because we just wrapped it up. And we're going to report on the impact of that work next month. But we conducted 3 types of surveys over the summer related to the outcomes of that program. So we surveyed parents, and we also have been conducting impact interviews with participants in that program. And what came out of that were some really important stories that show how the library not only supported, yes, academic success, but also total development and social development of kids throughout the summer. So we're excited to share that with you. And so we put a lot of thought into developing our evaluation strategy that we used this summer. And I think evaluation where you actually ask people or you measure in some way the effectiveness of a program or service that helps put the impact of what we do in context beyond just the circulation and the attendance numbers is really important. And we have that data. And so that's a huge stride forward in WFPL's evaluation strategy and us being able to report on the impact of what we do. So I'm most proud of the progress that we've made in that area and the work that staff have done there. The last thing that I will say about that is that having planned the outcomes like we did for summer programs is very reflective of how we're planning the evaluation strategy for our strategic plan as a whole. And I think it will really help us measure the impact of what we do so we can continuously report that out to all of you and the commission and other groups like the Friends of the Library and just the general public too. So that's been a really important thing that we've worked on this year. And the other thing that I am proud of as I reflect on what our goals were for the year and as we've tracked the work that's been done towards them is the area of fundraising. We've also made some really good strides and ventured into some things that we haven't done before as a library. We raised $15,000 this year on Giving Hearts Day with our Friends of the Library group, which is huge. That's a huge step forward for us. And one other more recent development even is that the Friends of the Library decided to stop collecting dues to be a Friends member. And at this point, their focus is really increasing participation in that group. and not wanting there to be any barriers to wanting to be a friend, because friends aren't just people that are donating, they're often donating their time, and they need a cohort of people that can do fundraising and fundraisers throughout the year. So that's really the way that they're shifting their focus, and that's really an exciting thing, and I think that will have a really big impact on extending the reach of what the library can do through more hands on deck and also funds. And Maria, our deputy director, is going to work with them and has started working with them on developing a year-round fundraising calendar. So that is awesome. That's some great steps forward for us this year. So I'm really proud of those things. Just looking at the statistical report from this month, which, like I said, we just compile our metrics, our quantitative data on an ongoing basis, so we're always updating it monthly for you. But some key things that I wanted to highlight: we had more attendance at programs this summer than in summer 2019 in the same set of months, which is awesome. So our reach has expanded. We talked about this at last month's meeting, but we've issued more new library cards than in any recent summer as well. We issued almost 1,000 new library cards in the months of June and July, which is excellent. And we almost had as many summer reading program registrants as we did in 2019, but program completion went from about 10,000 hours read to over 14,000 hours read. So more people completed the program. So if we're talking about really the outcome of trying to have a positive impact on reversing or preventing learning loss in kids, program completion is way more important than just numbers of people participating. So that's a really, I think, promising statistic that demonstrates the impact of what we did this summer, so that's great. And I think that looking forward, as we've been thinking about what some of our new goals could be and what some of the ways how we might evaluate them, I think that some metrics for the library, the ones that we consider to be important, are probably going to continue to shift over time. Our door count of people coming into the library obviously was impacted by COVID-19 very significantly in 2020. And we are still not quite where we were in July 2019, but if you consider that about 2/3 of our programming was offsite this summer, we had more attendance overall. We're really not that far off. And we know we're providing more equitable service across the city. So that is a positive thing. I think cardholder data and circulation and attendance in specific areas of the city and assessment of actual service outcomes are going to be some of the more important key metrics going forward than probably some of what we've focused on in the past. But more on that to come as it relates to our actual plan goals. So just wanted to highlight a few things from that mid-year report. Does anybody have any questions about that for me, and before I hit on a few final items and then turn it over to Kirsten?
So as we move forward with the strategic plan, would we update some of the metrics I foresee to match the strategic
Exactly.
plan?
Yep. So that's what we're doing right now, since we've compiled what we see as the focus areas, now pinpointing what those key metrics that will actually show success, what are the most important ones, will be ready for you to review in the plan draft. So yes, exactly.
And the data looks great. I think it's great data. And now it's targeted directly towards the strategic plan.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yep. And some of our goals and focus areas have specific audiences that they're tied to. So obviously the metrics may be more specific and tied to some of those audiences too, that we really need to look at to gauge success for some of them more specifically. But obviously we have a set of high-level metrics for the library too that's just gauging health over time.
Right, yeah, I don't think these have to go away, but.
No, that's not what we're saying, but what
Right.
we're saying is that others will probably emerge as being important.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Good, thank you. Data looks really great. Any other comments or questions? All right, thanks, Carissa.
I have a couple more items with the director's report. One is that I applied for a Main Street Excellence Award for the Little Red Reading Bus program, and this award is managed by the Governor's Office and the Department of Commerce, and it recognizes cities across North Dakota who engage in work that enhances quality of life for residents while maintaining efficient infrastructure. Those are sort of the main criteria for it. So the Little Red Reading Bus program this summer, it fits that bill perfectly, so I'm excited about that. I don't know what will become of it, but fingers crossed. So another kind of fun fact from the last month, last week we were on Valley News Live from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. on Wednesday, and our communications specialist tracks analytics for all of our media spots, and our presence on the show over that 2-hour period between different segments equated to, I think, nearly $10,000 in the equivalent amount of paid advertising, what you would need to spend to have the same reach. So that was 2 hours well worth it. That was awesome, and it resulted in 500 attendees at Red Fest, our end of summer celebration last Thursday evening. So that was pretty awesome. I'm really proud of staff for that. One other item that I wanted to include in the director's report is relating to our off-site book vending machine in Cashwise. So with the approval of the 2021 budget, that took place a while now ago, it was determined that it was time to decommission our vending machine in Cashwise in 2021. Leanne and Tony, you're newer. Jody, you were here, but I'll just recap some of the discussion about why. So at the time, we decided to move forward with this because it's an older machine and it doesn't give the people the options to actually pick what they want out of the machine. It really does work just like a vending machine works. And circulation has just been historically low for the cost per circulation with the machine. And we're able to have a much bigger impact and support people's usage of the library through off-site partnerships and actually being out and interfacing with the public as compared to having that machine. So that was some of what went into the discussion at that time. So our maintenance contract ends at the end of November for it. So my plan is to decommission it by the end of October to give a little buffer. And we would put out a advanced public notice about it, and also obviously as part of that talk about what other venues you can find us at off-site, because we do have a number of outreach activities planned throughout the fall, obviously. And there are local vending machine vendors that will purchase it for parts for a nominal amount. So that is the plan with that. So I will keep you posted on next steps with that, but I just wanted to bring that back around so that it was a while ago that has been talked about, so I didn't want to take anybody by surprise as that plan unfolds.
Is that location listed on the website, Carissa?
Could you repeat that, Jody?
Is that location on your website, on the West Fargo Public Library website?
Yep, it currently is. Yep.
Have you put a notice on there that it's going to be going away?
We haven't started that process yet, but we will. We'll start in September with a view on, like I said, the decommissioning happening by the end of October.
Sounds good.
Yep, but thank you. Last couple items, I wanted to give everybody a heads up about Westfest participation. So we are going to participate in Westfest. We always do, typically. And so we'll be out at this event with the Little Red Reading Bus. The library is usually, and will be this year as well, closed on the day of Westfest. Because we are out and participating in the event. And this year we're going to take part in the parade. So the Little Red Reading Bus will be in the parade. So I wanted to invite all of you to take part in the parade with us and walk alongside the bus. I'll send out more information via email about it, but get it on your calendars, and I wanted to get it on your radar. So Saturday, September 18th. I don't quite know the exact time of the parade yet, but I will find that information out and I will share it with you. But it's really fun. It's a great event. We at the library are continuing to watch new developments with the pandemic and COVID-19. And as of recently, we made the decision to begin masking internally, at least among staff, And we have re-upped our strong encouragement to visitors to the library to do the same, just based on the CDC's new recommendation that vaccinated adults also mask. So we just made that change recently and have just been re-upping our communications that we had throughout 2020 and the first part of 2021. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that too. And last but not least, I had emailed the board about getting West Fargo ND emails. I have those all in place, so I'll be sending an email out to all of you to your other emails about how to access your new emails soon. So I have all that ready to
Those
go.
will then be listed on the website then?
Yes,
Right.
we will put those up on the website, which makes that a lot easier, right? So that you don't have your personal email up on the website. So now you all have westfargond.gov emails, so we will get those posted. And I will send you information about how to access it. It's fairly simple, but you can reach out to me if you have other questions about how to use it or anything after I send that email to you. And the one thing I would add is just, I will email you there. I won't email you at your other email addresses anymore, so please check it. If you don't hear from me for a while, it's maybe because haven't logged into your email. So yes, just watch for library business coming through there, and I will not communicate with your personal email anymore. I will not do that. I will make sure to use the other ones up until that point. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hello there, my name is Kirsten Hennigan. I'm the Adult Services Manager. Just bear with me while I get my USB drive in here and pull up some pictures so we can put some context to those fun data metrics that you have already. I mostly am going to use pictures because they are fun and they show a little bit of that personality part of the programs that we do. Ooh, I should probably share this on this guy. Just want to make sure Jody can see all the things. Even though Jody attended some of the programs, so. All right, Jody, can you see everything?
Not yet.
Hopefully soon. Maybe. It's thinking about it.
Yeah, it's thinking. It says has started screen sharing.
How misleading. Oh, where'd my Zoom go? How about now?
Not yet, sorry.
Joys of internet. Oh, goody. Let me try that again. If it'll let me get back to it. Won't let me open Zoom anymore. It just don't let me click on it. It'll see me.
I've dueled with this baby.
Yeah, here.
Let me see.
Yeah, it won't let me open it.
Oh, it's over there.
Yep. Oh, that's why.
I got your back.
Thanks, dude. All right. How about now? Maybe?
Now I see you.
You just see me? Okay, well, I'm. All right. Oop.
There it is.
Rejoice! Okay, yay, awesome. Okay. Now you move all your little faces so I can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so for today's programming update, I'm mostly going to breeze over June and July because, like Carissa said, you're going to get a very detailed account of outcomes, mapping all of that, all of the data, all of those fun survey responses next month. So I will show you some pictures, talk about a few of the highlights and some of the big heavy hitter programs that we had a lot of success at this summer. And then I'll give you a peek into fall, knowing that One Book, One Community has already started, as well as some programs that are going to be returning starting in September. So without further ado, we'll jump right in. So for June, we had a few programs that were held that were very successful due to the partners that we had in conjunction with them. So a few of these pictures are from our rock painting event. We paid a little homage to our 50th anniversary that was very popular in the 70s as well as now. So a lot of kids and families and even adults had fun at this program where they got to have a hands-on free creativity, paint whatever you want. A lot of that feedback came through that it wasn't a do this craft just like this, but it was a do whatever you want, and you got to pick as many rocks as you wanted. We have different sizes, all kinds of fun things, but we partnered with FM Rocks, which is a Facebook group that paints, hides, and hunts rocks in the community. So if you find a painted rock in a park, it likely came from them. So if you want to take part in that, it's called FM Rocks, and it's on Facebook. Another event that we held was our family birder walk and talk. We went to South Elmwood Park and partnered with the Dakota Audubon Society. Megan Carter with their organization came and did an intro to birding, and we just walked the park for about an hour and a half, and families were very excited about it. They got to learn about some common and some not so common birds that they can find in their backyard, as well as parks locally in West Fargo and across the FM area. But here are a few pictures of families. They were binoculars that some people brought themselves, as well as they do outreach events like this and have a whole tub of binoculars that are pretty high quality that kids and adults can use to look at birds in their backyard. I will jump to a few more. Slowly, just thinking about it. For July, our biggest event that was at the library was our Animals and Ice Cream event, which we partnered with the NDSU Saddle and Sirloin group. They brought a calf, a few sheep, and a miniature horse to the library for the kids to learn about the animals from the NDSU group, as well as go inside and learn how to make ice cream that they got to taste test and also take home that day. We had over 340 people come through the library that day. It was a very busy day in the library, but a lot of fun. There was about 150 people that came through the actual ice cream part of the event as well. A few other successful events were the PJ Storytime and Stuffy Sleepover in collaboration with the MSUM Planetarium. So the planetarium staff talked about the many things that they do and talked about planets, but then the kiddos got to leave their stuffed animals behind, and then Sarah Davis, our children's services librarian, took a bunch of cute pictures and showed their stuffed animals experiencing the library without them overnight. Many kids were very excited about that, and it was very cute as well. The last one I'll highlight for July was our Fun with Fossils event, where kids got to learn about fossils and the different types of fossils that exist, as well as make their own fossils during the class as well. We leveraged some of the North Dakota State Library resources and actually had fossils in the classroom for the kids to look at and see and touch and feel and all that good stuff too. So it was a pretty fun event. For adults this summer, we held a gardening DIY series. That's the part that Jody went to. We had 4 classes tackling different angles of gardening for beginners, all of which had a take and make or a DIY component to it. They got to learn about stuff and do stuff in the classroom. We covered container gardening for those that maybe garden in small spaces, live in apartments, townhomes, maybe only use their patio or even just indoors and don't have a backyard to garden with. In that class, they got to take what they learned and then take a container plant home that they got to plant themselves as well. We had a DIY workshop on building and decorating birdhouses where It included a lot of me chopping a lot of wood up for them to use, but they got to paint birdhouses as well as stick them together with this really heavy-duty mounting tape. So it was nail-less, glue-less, and screw-less birdhouses that they got to take home. Yeah, it was an interesting time. As well as a few other topics, we did an herb gardening class that featured ways to preserve, use, grow different herbs for food and drinks and whatever uses as well. They got to then also plant some herbs and take some recipes home as well that are with those herbs that they got to take home. Lastly, we also had a class on the importance of pollinators and how to attract different pollinators to their gardens, which also featured a take-home kit of a hummingbird feeder. In this series, we had several adults register for the entirety, so all 4 classes through June and July, created a way for also them to start recognizing each other and just helping each other with their different gardening questions, because they were intended for that beginner level of gardener, but it was a way for also them to share, oh, this really worked at my house. Does this work at your house? I've never grown this successfully. What do you do? A lot of those questions and that collaboration came through in this series of classes as well. And I will also share fall stuff. So we round the corner to fall. It's exciting. I'm tired of this 90-degree weather, and I'm looking for some autumn vibes. So, One Book, One Community. I'm sure you're familiar with this project, but it is a collaboration with all of the public libraries in the community, as well as the academic libraries of NDSU, MSUM, as well as Concordia, and the Historical and Cultural Society of Clay County. So our group collaborates as a representative group of about 8 to 10 folks from all those different organizations, and we pick a title, develop a themed group of programs. All of our organizations provide different programs throughout the fall around this topic, as well as host the author to come talk about the book title in the community. So this year's title is Everything You Wanted to Know About Indians But Were Afraid to Ask by Dr. Anton Troyer. He's a professor of Ojibwe at Bemidji State University in Minnesota. He's authored over 20 books, and the selected title is a book of questions and answers from his perspective growing up Native. He will be presenting the book at the end of October at Concordia College. We're hoping that can still be in person, but we also are going to be live streaming the event regardless. So even if we do have that in person, we'll also be live streaming it. It may be recorded to share after, but that will be determined in the next couple weeks, the length of which it'll be available for live stream after the event. The events that we are hosting as WFPL are 3 book discussions on the titles. We do host 3 different book club groups at the library, so all of the groups will be reading the title, as well as we'll be showing 2 movies related to the topic, one being titled Indian Horse, which tells the story of a young boy's experience in the Canadian boarding schools, and then a second title of Smoke Signals, which is a very beloved comedy drama that it talks about life on the reservation, family relationships, and just realities of growing up. Each film screening will be followed up with a group discussion as well, so some dialogue discussing the movies and the relation to now, because both the movies are a little bit dated. We actually launched a clothing drive earlier this month focused on many items that are not typically donated to shelters locally, so things like underwear, socks, diapers, things that are just crucial. If you don't have them, you really want them. So we partnered with the Indigenous Association. They are a nonprofit locally that serves as a resource to the Native, Indigenous community in the Fargo-Moorhead, West Fargo Metro. At the end of August, we'll be hosting a Q&A session with our interim director, Dr. Holly Mackey, as well as other board members of the group to just talk about their organization, their goals, what they plan to do and serve the community, as well as hand over those donated items so they can fill their new emergency item closet that's new to them now that they have a space in the community. Lastly, with One Book, One Community, the 3 public libraries launched a reading and activity challenge around the book theme for those that are 14 plus. There's an option to read the original adult text, but there actually is a new young adult version that came out this spring as well. So there's events or activities in there such as attending the events in the community, watching Dr. Troyer's TED Talk, listening to podcasts, reading other titles by Native authors, and a bunch of other fun stuff in there too. The prizes are all different for each of the challenges at 3 of the 3 libraries. So In reality, you could do all 3 challenges and get all 3 different prizes, but there are grand prizes related to our specific challenge that support different Indigenous businesses. So we have a few gift cards, a few food packs that actually came from Red Lake Nation Foods. There's a few boutiques that we're supporting as well as local artists. So there's a bunch of different options for prizes on that challenge. As we look to the fall for youth programming side of things, we'll be returning to our family and baby story times in mid-September, as well as many of the outreach story times that we've done in the past. The youth services team will also be collaborating with the middle schools to do a back-to-school reading challenge in Beanstack as well, with all 3 middle schools. In the past, I think we only did 1, but now we'll be expanding it across the district as well. Chris talked about this a little bit, but we all are also participating in Westfest. We'll be in the parade with the Little Red Reading Bus, as well as hosting a pop-up library in the family fun, whatever that's actually called at Westfest, but the place where they have all the inflatables and good things like that. So we'll have our typical reading zone, fun activities, books for people to check out, and all of those good things at Westfest as well. I was a bit brief on June and July, but know that the in-depth stuff is coming. If you have any questions, I'll take a pause for you guys to ask those now.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
That's
no
good
problem.
stuff.
Yay!
Any other questions or comments? All right, well, we can't wait.
Yay, awesome.
Good, thank you. And then we have the last part. Is there anything more with progress and updates for activities? No? So we have the Mobile Library Task Force Action Summary.
That's actually just an attachment for
Okay.
you guys to have that I always, unless there's some action that they've taken, I just include it with the director's report. So I don't have anything further to add to it, but there's a memo in your packet.
Thank you. Is there any questions regarding the agenda or the link or the agenda item? All right. That's our agenda. Is there any other business? I did want to state, my son and I went to the Red Fest and we had a great time and it was a great turnout. And we loved listening to the books read by the mayor. So it was a good time. So thank you, all of our library people, for supporting that. Any other comments or business? All right, we've come to the end of our agenda. It is 6:43. We will need a motion and a second to adjourn this meeting.
Did you make a motion, Tony? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yes, Tony made a motion.
I will second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting is complete. Thank you all.